So I mean, the thing to remember now is that in this life we are in a journey. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and take a provision for the journey, but the best provision is at-taqwa. So fear me, O men of understanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this journey, the provision you really need for it to survive and to be successful is taqwa. And we said taqwa is knowing what it is that will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will keep you away from His anger and acting in accordance, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala follows it. So fear me, O men of understanding. Ulil albab, people who have true understanding are those who will be able to have true taqwa. So we need knowledge. We need knowledge before we can do action. That's why Imam al-Bukhari, he made a chapter in his book. He said, al-ilm qabla al-qawli wal-amal. And the verse that he put there is, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ. He said, know that there is no one worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a verse in the Quran. And then seek refuge or seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your sins and mistakes. So the idea is you have to have knowledge before you can act. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give from the bounties of this life to anyone that He wants. Is that right? So He makes people who we see clearly are doing wrong things. We believe them to be evildoers, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them wealth, gives them power, gives them authority, gives them good health, long life, children, good looks, whatever it is that people want from this life. We may find that people who are doing bad things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them. But those things don't necessarily mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves them. But the Prophet ﷺ says, مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for them, He will give them fiqh in this deen, in this way of life, in this religion. And what does fiqh mean? Proper and true understanding. Is that right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, say, this is my way, I invite unto Allah with sure knowledge, I and whosoever follows me, subhanallah, and I am not of the mushriks. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet ﷺ, say, this is my way, I invite unto Allah with sure knowledge. You have to have knowledge to invite to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He says, Ana wa man ittaba'ani, I and whosoever follows me. So we who want to go down this path, as this is a da'wah organization, is that right? So going down this path and calling to what the Prophet ﷺ called to requires knowledge. Knowledge about what? Knowledge about what you're inviting to. Knowledge about the people that you are inviting as well, is that right? And knowledge about how to invite. So the scholars, they pulled all of these out from ayat and ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ. You need to have knowledge about these three. What you're calling to, who you are calling to your message, and what is the proper manner that you should call them.